getting that proverbial monkey off your back. Not that it really rained on him the way that it does on other players, but the fact that he got it done. You're a champion now, and that pressure is shredded from your shoulders, not just for him, but for a stud like Middleton, whose mid-range game is pure, for a guy like Jrue Holiday, who didn't have another good shooting night last night, but find different ways to beat you, along with Bobby Portis and P.J. Tucker. I'm so happy for him. James Harden, Dwight Howard, CP3, Russell Westbrook, all departed from Houston looking for a crown, even though Dwight got his last year. P.J. Tucker got his now. I'm really, really happy for him. When you look at what they have together and they're already a champion, pressure's no longer on them. That could make them even more lethal.
I don't see it. I think they'll be competitive. I agree with you about P.J. Tucker. P.J. Tucker and Brook Lopez are the right kind of fits on a team with Jrue Holiday and Middleton. Everything fits very nicely at a certain level. And Giannis is a monster, but at a certain level. Stephen A., I can't get over the memory of a Nets team without James Harden. Of all of the players on the Nets, the guy who, to me, made them, like, impossible. I know you say KD. I said Harden played the best basketball of his career last year. I thought game for game was the best player in the league in both conferences. Without Harden, they were beating the brakes off the Bucks. An average margin of like 20, 25 points. Without Harden? And then when the Bucks finally won a game, it was by a slim margin in a great defensive effort from the Nets. Again, no James Harden. And then no Harden or Kyrie. And Harden comes back. He's not himself, obviously. It gets to a game 7. If KD's foot's not on the line, if KD hits an open shot, they lose right there. Again, no Harden, no Kyrie. No real Harden, no Kyrie. If the Nets are healthy, the Bucks don't even have a chance next year. They don't have a chance. It's a blow. Like, the Nets are so much better than the Bucks if they're healthy. I'm taking into account what you're saying about, hey, Kyrie's sometimes not there. Harden was whatever. But then even if they got past the Nets, Stephen A., they got to get past the Lakers, AD and LeBron. You can't just rely on injury every year.
Max Kellerman.
He's about to fall
The question wasn't about next year. The question was, will Giannis win more titles in Milwaukee? He's 26. Mm-hmm. We don't know how long James Harden and Kyrie and KD gonna last in Brooklyn. LeBron's got about 2 years left in L.A. The question was, will you win more titles in Milwaukee? It wasn't, will you win next year? So I'm looking at Giannis at age 26. Do you believe, Max, that this is his last title of his career?
It's a good point. I would say that it is possible if he stays in Milwaukee his entire career that we are not done seeing him win championships in Milwaukee. How would I peg the odds? I don't even know if I'd make it 50-50, but it's a good point.
I think I could see Giannis winning 3 titles in his career, Max. I could see him winning 3.
The problem is it's difficult for Milwaukee to attract top-flight players, and they don't seem – ownership doesn't seem willing to –
As presently constructed, where's Jrue Holiday or Middleton going in terms of their game? See, when we look at somebody like Russell Westbrook, his athleticism is off the charts. He's just almost superhuman, for crying out loud. But you do know that there's a window on that, because how much longer is that going to last because of his athleticism? The same way we once looked at Derrick Rose. Giannis ain't going to get below 6'11". Middleton's mid-range game is his mid-range game. Jrue Holiday's ability to play defense could be there for years to come.
I would have given KD more credit for this Brooklyn win, even though they still have the most talent, because throwing guys together is harder than it's harder to win that first year, as we saw in Miami, than it is like what KD did was different, guys. The Boston Celtics, with the team that you were on, Perk, Garnett was an MVP level player. But Pierce and Ray Allen weren't. Let's just be honest. They were all-star level players. And
Hall of Famers. Hall of Famers.
Yeah, but there's a difference. But you could say, who's better, this guy or that guy? The MVP level is better than the all-star level. Pierce and Ray Allen are Hall of Famers. There are higher levels of player. Like, for example, Kevin Garnett. That was what the Warriors had. They had an MVP player in Steph. They had an all-star in Clay, an all-star in Dre, a great player in Iguodala, and they added to a team that was already functioning an MVP all-time great in his prime. That is completely different than what all these other circumstances are. That's why those rings, to me, it's like you couldn't not win. How do you not win if they just won 73 games, came a play away, and then you add KD? That's different than LeBron. That's a super-duper team. It's different.
Well, let me say a couple of things. Number one, Paul Pierce was called the truth for a reason because he closed. Number two, Ray Allen, I would remind you that if it wasn't for the exceptionalism of Steph Curry, I would remind you that the all-time three-point king would be Ray Allen. This brother was something special. And by the way, I just recently heard he was in some kind of bike accident or whatever. I hope he's all right. Nothing but the best to that brother. I love Ray Allen. So I want to say that. The other thing that I will say to you is this. Again, Giannis did it the right way. He did it the Jordan way. He did it the Kobe way. He did it the Tim Duncan way. We get all of that. We understand that, okay? And I'm not taking anything away from him. But I would like to point out that this season, above many, many others, has proven just because you assemble something doesn't mean that it necessarily works out. Look at what happened to the Brooklyn Nets. So the point that I'm trying to make to you is that we can point to injury, Max, but when other things come into the equation, like you coming into camp out of shape, or if you Kyrie, you thinking you don't really need a coach because you're so exceptional and you didn't think about the fact that other young cats might be called upon to raise up their game because you get hurt, but they weren't prepared because they weren't receiving the necessary coaching that they could have received. There's a lot of different components that go into being successful, not just even after you assemble a crew. And the bottom line is, I can't dismiss the championships that KD earned, nor that LeBron earned, because they still had to work their butts off in order to become champions. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.